Uno, dos, tres, four.
They were all located in Belarus, so they don't need an army of their own. They don't need to do anything of their own.
Yeah.
They're still kind of just a satellite like they've always been.
But they're still getting everything shut off. PayPal.
Mm-hmm. It's because they're functionally just Russia, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're
eShop.
talking about today.
Nintendo eShop sales suspended in Russia.
Yeah. Everybody has suspended sales for the most part.
Well, you know what happens on Monday? 7th?
I don't know.
The next batch of Steam Deck emails should be going out on March 7th. I know some people have been like wondering because one batch of emails went out, and everyone was like, "Where's mine?" And Nick Ricciardo was like complaining about it. And I told him on Twitch, I was like, "They're not sending any more out until March 7th. So keep an eye on your emails."
Yeah, people should. I'm not going to because I didn't sign up for it.
Apparently, they're just sending a bunch of emails in one day, and then I don't know if they're waiting if it's every 2 weeks or what exactly. Apparently, March 7th is the next batch.
Yeah, I was never sold on it in the first place, as we were talking about it. And the more and more we've talked about it, the less and less sold I am on the Steam Deck. And I remember when it was first announced, people were like, why don't you want it? It's like a better Switch. I'm like, one, it doesn't sound like a better Switch. And two, I have a gaming laptop. Why do I need a Steam Deck?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Some games I find better with a controller and some worse. Like Stardew Valley on the Switch, I find to be kind of a pain in the ass.
Oh, I like mouse and keyboard for Stardew, you know?
Yeah, it's much faster, much more efficient. Although, it'll be cool to have a Stardew Valley that I can mod on a mobile device. Because that's the one thing that really pretty much stopped me where I don't really play Stardew on the Switch anymore. It's because I love the mods. I can't. I played it pretty much through. I haven't gotten to Ginger Island, but I've pretty much done everything that I can on the Switch version with no mods. And so now I'm like, well, it's just more enjoyable with the, with a bigger greenhouse and automated machines and being able to see where people are in the town. So
I have to start from scratch.
I'm addicted to the Stardew mods. Let's do a multiplayer one.
We could, as long as we own. Like, I'll install some mods, but I only like the quality of life stuff.
Oh, that's fine. No, whatever you want to do. Yeah. If you want to host a multiplayer one,
we can do it sometime. I have it on Steam.
It's less. I don't care about the mods if we do multiplayer. Just when I'm doing single players,
because like when you have multiplayer, you can share responsibility, so it's almost like having mods, right? Somebody else is automating the stuff that you would have done. Yeah.
No, I don't care. Plus, I'm not sure if some of the mods that I use even work in multiplayer.
I don't know. I don't know what the restrictions and stuff are and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I kind of enjoy vanilla, but I have to start over because the last playthrough I did was on the PlayStation. I haven't played it since the PlayStation. So now that I have it on Steam, it's like obviously I don't have the farm that I was doing there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Stardew, never need to start, but
Nice.
Stardew Valley, the board game. It's huge and heavy. It's freaking heavy.
It looks huge. Yeah.
Oh my god. But the cool thing that I didn't even know until I got it was that you can play with just one player. So, I'll have to try
I
it
was
out.
say because you're a big guy and that thing looks huge right next to you.
It is. It's gigantic. It was so heavy when I got it. I got it in the mail. It's like I didn't even know what it was. I was like, "What the hell did I order?" It's so freaking heavy. Oh.
Yeah. But anyway,
Yeah, they are
welcome
available.
to the Vomitorium, everyone. As always, I'm your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer, who I'm happy to cut off for the intro because it's always a surprise when I do it.
Yes, it's fine. I'm doing fine, and welcome, Fizchozo. Says hi, everybody in the chat. It's Saturday.
It is.
I slept late. I haven't done anything today. So,
Oddly enough, it's the one day of the week that I actually got up early.
oh wow.
Normal people
Well,
sleep in Saturdays. Me, it's the day I get up earlier than normal. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I woke up and I turned on because I almost always, not always, but most of the time, I watch Coffee with Scott Adams in the morning at 9:00 Central, and I turned it on, and then I kind of got back in bed, and I had my laptop with me in bed, and I ended up falling asleep halfway through. Just slept through till the afternoon. So I'll have to go back and see what his daily thoughts are on.
Apparently, you're not the only one who lost part of your day. I mean, GMT lost an entire day, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently, welcome. But I don't know what's going on. I've been looking up some stories.
You don't know what's going on. What?
It's not a whole lot.
Well,
is
the most
there a
important
lot?
thing. No, there's not a lot going on. Like I said, the most important thing is Kirby and the Forgotten Land got a new trailer, and at the end of the trailer, like, hey, there's a demo out now. So people have been like jumping into it, cutting it apart, seeing what's going on. A lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So far, the trailer's multiplayer, or not the trailer. It'd be weird if a trailer was multiplayer. I guess technically, we could all watch it at the same time. The demo is multiplayer.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I still have my triangle strategy demo that I haven't played yet.
Same. I started it. I'm still like after the first mission. That's it. I've barely even touched that thing.
Had I done this by Wednesday? I don't remember. Maybe I had. Had I beaten the boss in Elden Ring yet? When we last spoke.
I don't know if you beat a boss the last time. So no,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I managed to beat a boss. So
Multiplayer trailers are the future.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, no, that's a feat. Well, I wouldn't say it's a feat, but it's definitely the right direction, right? Like that's the whole point of those games is you're supposed to suck at first, and then you just keep pushing and pushing until you get better at it. It's the whole get good.
Well, I thought about it, and I was trying to think of because these games are quite different from most kind of open world adventure games, that sort of thing. Where most games, like Skyrim, for instance, or Breath of the Wild, when you die, it's kind of a big deal. It's like you're really trying not to, and maybe throughout a playthrough, like maybe even your first playthrough, your character might die 3 or 4 times, and you really, really trying to avoid it. In this game, it's more. I was thinking of this game as like a Super Meat Boy or VVV.
I like to see it like an arcade game, right?
Yeah.
Except instead of having to put a quarter in every time, you just lose like your souls or your runes or whatever it is, and you run back and see if you can get them. You could retrieve the quarter on the string, but they're very arcade-like, where it's like memorization and learning patterns and doing better every single time. Yeah,
but you got to look at it. You got to look at it as like almost like in my mind, like a Super Meat Boy, where it's like, launch yourself at the next thing, die, try again, die, try again, try, and then eventually you get through it. But like, don't worry about it. You're gonna die a million times. So who cares? Just keep trying. It's not that big a deal because you don't really lose anything. You don't lose any of your items. You don't lose levels. You don't.
It is definitely a game that punishes impatient people.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even mean like you can't play a strategy where you just throw spaghetti at the wall. but like you have to be methodical about it. You have to pay attention to what went wrong. And impatient people, they'll just keep throwing themselves at the wall. They won't learn a thing each time. Like you have to think like, okay, what happened last time and what can I do to change it?
Yeah, the only thing I would say about this game is that it's sometimes, for me, it's been a little bit difficult to figure out what I did wrong or what I could do differently. But, you know, there is some experimentation that you have to do. Like I figured out there's this one room where there are these two enemies, and they're small enemies, but they will fuck your shit up and they will kill you. If you just run into the room, like one pops in from behind and then one, you know, attacking you from the front, and you just die, you know, if you just go running in. So I figured out, okay, if I kind of step a foot in and then come back, the guy comes in from the side instead of from behind you.
Yeah.
And then he'll, you know, be in front of you. And if you can just take him out real quick, the other guy, you can kind of, because he's like throwing shit at you, you just kind of zigzag your way to him and then you can get him. And so, yeah. And then basically after I figure that out, I could do that room over and over and not get hit at all. So,
yeah, that's pretty much the experience of every single Souls game. This one's a little different because while things are more spread out in the open world, you don't have to worry about it as much outside of like catacombs and dungeons and stuff that you can go to. It's also a bit more sporadic up there because there are more possibilities of places that people can be in than there were in previous games, right? Like previous games, a character might be in a corridor and they might have their route, or they might be stuck in this, which is kind of how it still is if you go down into the catacombs and stuff. But some of like the Watchmen and stuff kind of like roam in a non-standard formation. So you could end up in this overlap where you're like stuck in this thicket of trees and there are like three people taking you from sides that you won't experience again because of just the odds of timing. And that's a little dynamic and interesting. So I think that it's cool that you get this newer experience, but also the old experience of the Souls games are still in there as well with the catacombs and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there's you know, there's overworld quirks like you know, at night these bats, these giant bat creatures come out and you can really get swarmed if you're not careful, especially if you're like fighting a roaming patrolman and then suddenly a horde of bats descends on you and you're in the middle of that.
Yeah. But yes, it is roll and drink the game. Because almost anything can be avoided by rolling at the right time. And if you don't avoid it, then you have to drink to get your health back. That's all the Souls games.
Yeah. I like the Bob Ross Kappa. Never seen that before.
Oh, I've seen that a lot. Yeah, it's always fun to see it though.
GMT knows all the Kappas.
But an open world game that isn't as demanding of you is the Kirby game. So there was actually one really big thing that was frightening people, so to speak, for no reason whatsoever, because they don't understand how the PEGI ratings work because they're just too used to the ESRB and don't pay attention to other rating boards. Actually, I'm not even sure they understand how the ESRB works, to be honest, with every time anybody talks about it. But one of the things that were making people nervous is that Kirby and the Forgotten Land has a PEGI rating that specifically has violence and fear on it, making them think that it's going to be scarier than a Kirby game normally is, which, as far as cartoon games do, if you actually think about what's going on, they are kind of like Lovecraftian monstrosities. Like Kirby fights world-devouring enemies all the time that are like monsters from the depths of your nightmares. But the reason they're afraid is because they don't understand the PEGI rating system. Because if you see the word PEGI 7, it literally means it's suitable for people of the age 7 or over. That's how all the PEGIs are. They have like an age number on it. And it has fear, but you have to think in the context, okay, that's something that might startle or trigger somebody who is under the age of 7. So that could be like any bright flash or loud noise or anything like that. And people are like, oh, is this going to be a horror game? It's like, no. There's just visuals and sounds that might scare a small child. I mean, it's a Kirby game. I expected that in there anyway. A lot of bright flashes.
Yeah.
Sometimes a monster from the depths of space will make a weird moan sound or something. The Peggy 7 for violence is also because Kirby has a gun at some point and also shoots soda cans at people, and that even that cartoon violence has to get a violence rating.
And hits enemies with a hammer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you got to remember the average mental age of somebody on Twitter is 5.
Yeah,
so it's probably not suited for them.
Well, I mean, if it was up to them, it would be getting a mature rating for sexuality just because it has that cartoon cat person in it with the big claws that we saw in the trailer.
Yeah, does that count as a furry?
It will. I haven't looked. I'm not going to, but I haven't seen furry art of it appear in my feed yet. I'm sure Rule 34 for that had to have dropped the day the trailer did.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, do people like you go on Netflix and you open up a PG movie and it'll say violence and fear and that kind of stuff. Like, do people not understand ratings? I don't know. Why is this an issue?
I don't know, because maybe they think child ratings in the modern day, which they're way stricter than they used to be. In some regards. There's also some regards where they're way more lenient. It's like they've tightened up in some places and loosened out others. But like, shoot, you need to put a fear rating on the Brave Little Toaster. I think that might even need to be higher than PG. Like, the movie itself is PG, but specifically the trauma-related ratings of that movie need to be like PG-13 or something. I don't know. There's a dude who, like, air conditioner that commits suicide at the very beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know.
Crazy. I guess they're saying,
Marsupial, you sound hoarse. It's been months. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. What's funny is I listened to a Zach video this morning before I passed out again. I think it was this morning. And he's been having coughing problems too. And he said that he got on a new medication that he's trying. And he said what it was. So I'm actually going to call my doctor on Monday and tell him, I have this friend who suggested that I try this medication. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's a cough suppressant, but it's like a special modern one. So we'll see. If it works, I will have to thank Zach somehow. I'll have to buy an extra copy of Rock and Roll graphic novel. Rock and Roll Ninja.
Rock and Roll Ninja. That's such a good name too. Yeah. It says now Fishoso says nowadays PG-13 movies can't, I'm putting his edit in already, show hearts being ripped out of like people's chests, I guess. Like, I mean, back in the day. Also, it's probably because it looks more realistic to see a heart being pulled out of somebody's chest than it did back when that would have fit in PG-13. But still, it's like they've tightened up on a lot of the gore and a lot of the trauma stuff, but they've loosened up a little bit on sexuality, right? Implied sex and stuff like that, as long as it's not shown, can be put at lower ratings than it used to. And they've loosened up on language quite a bit. But then they've tightened up in every other regard. Yeah,
but if you have someone smoking, I don't know I don't think you can have anyone smoking in a PG movie. I think it'd have to be at least PG-13.
Oh yeah, not anymore. Though we rewind the clock back to like the 80s and 90s for even like animation, and you could have like a Don Bluth character smoking a cigarette, and that's no problem.
Yeah, really. Like a G movie. It's crazy. Welcome, Keely Chow on YouTube.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks for watching.
But yeah, I if it says that Kirby is suitable for 7-year-olds, I'm sure it'll just have an E rating here because we're a lot looser with stuff like that as well. It'll just be suitable for everyone. At worst, it would be E10. Like, there's no way that game is even getting a T rating.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to swallow a car in a giant traffic cone and see what Kirby can do.
Well, I think you can actually try that immediately after we're done with the podcast, because I think some of that stuff is in the demo level.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Also, apparently, there is a dedicated button for waving at the Waddle Dees. Yeah.
All right.
He does the signature hi.
Very important for a Kirby game.
Yeah. Oh, the game looks so fun from the trailers. I can't wait to actually like dive in and explore that.
Yeah. It's I imagine they used the same engine as like Super Mario Odyssey.
It looks Odyssey very much. Especially the mouthful thing looks like it's just the cappy for this game. Just with a very disturbing visual for it.
I know. Giant stretched out Kirby. Like, ugh, is he gonna pop? Yikes.
Can swallow a whole planet, struggles to put his mouth around a car.
Doesn't
never get it. Yeah. But I'm excited. It's like I'm more excited for this than I am for things like Breath of the Wild 2, because it's like, well, I've already played Breath of the Wild 1. So even with the stuff added in 2, it's not like it's a brand new experience. While this is like, well, I haven't played this before. It's a Kirby game that's open world. Yeah.
Yeah, brand new. Should be interesting.
Yeah. In other news, because not really too much more to talk about that. Interestingly enough, with all this whole Russia-Ukraine stuff going on, John Romero, you know John Romero, right? Worked on Doom.
The game designer. Yeah.
He's a film director / game designer. Worked on Doom. He worked on Doom 2 as well. I think he also worked on Daikatana when he split off from them. And Romero actually released a new Doom 2 level. A new level for Doom 2. And all of the proceeds are being donated to help people in the Ukraine.
Okay. Well, maybe I haven't heard of this.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a new official Doom level released a few months ago?
I don't remember that.
I feel like there was.
But he just released this one now. And cool. It's $5. That's all you need to pay. Or no, sorry, I don't know what it is in dollars. It's €5, right? Because being European, I don't know what €5 is to USD. Let me look real quick.
Is it like available on Steam? Because I have Doom on Steam.
Well, you need Doom 2.
Okay, I have Doom 2.
Okay, $5.50. Because €5 is roughly $5.46.
I imagine you just have to buy it from the website and install it yourself somehow.
It requires an original copy of Doom 2 and a modern source port.
Okay.
Yep. And you can buy the level directly from Romero's website.
Huh. Yeah, the question is, does that work in the Steam version?
I have no idea.
Well, cool.
Yeah. It's the first level for Doom 2 specifically released from Romero since the game was originally launched in 1994.
I feel like the other new level that was released a few months ago was for Doom 1.
Probably. That's the most supported version of the game is Doom 1.
Yeah. Again, unless it was like a fan thing that I misinterpreted it, but I thought it was official. But I don't know.
And apparently, proceeds will be going directly to the Red Cross, which is, one of the organizations I haven't heard too much negative things about. I mean, the Red Cross, I think, typically does good, so that's you don't have to really worry where your money's going there.
Mm-hmm.
At least as far as I know, they could be in a scandal.
Very nice.
Yeah. I was just completely caught off guard by this. I'm like, who even plays Doom 2 out of all the Doom games?
John Dillard says, I've been seeing a lot of chatter about a game called Elden or Elder Ring. Is it worth watching YouTube playthroughs?
I mean, you could go back to the VOD on Marsupial's channel and watch him play, like, what'd you do, like a couple hours of it or something like that?
Yeah. Just from the beginning. Maybe I'll play it again later tonight.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. It's just a Dark Souls game. That's all it is. They refer to the genre as Soulsborne because of Bloodborne, and it's also just... It's easier to distinguish it from anything else that might have the word soul in it, like Soul Calibur or something like that. It's just a Soulsborne game.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, a reboot of The Settlers has been delayed indefinitely.
A reboot of The Settlers?
Did you ever play Settlers? Settlers 2?
No.
Settlers
I think
2
we've talked
was...
about this before, too.
Yeah. Settlers 2 is a big deal. It was a really good game back in the 90s. Later entries in the series, I think, were not so good, unfortunately.
I am familiar with the game. I've just never played it. Like, I've seen gameplay of it.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to do a reboot, I guess. I don't know. I mean, like, they've released so many versions. I assumed everyone was a reboot, basically, but apparently it's not good. They did a closed beta, I think. Yeah, closed beta. It did not go well. Apparently. So they're like, yeah, nope, we need to delay this. So, not that big a deal if you don't care about Settlers, but not coming out anytime soon.
Well, you know, it's always a shame to hear when, like, a long-term franchise just kind of fizzles out into production hell on anything that they're doing.
Yeah. Well, it is Ubisoft, so it's not like they're going to run out of money or anything. So, assuming they don't just give up on it, presumably it'll come out eventually. Or
unless somehow World War III breaches the beaches of Normandy again.
Yeah. Although it's a German, I believe it's a German series. It's originally was created by a company called Blue Byte, which is a German company that was bought by Ubisoft. And I'm pretty sure it's still developed in Germany. So
yeah, Ubisoft has a lot of different European little what are they called, subsidiaries that are just scattered outside of France.
Yeah, I don't think they call themselves Blue Byte anymore, but pretty sure the series is still. So you'd have to breach, the beaches of Normandy and then work your way all the way to Munich, I guess.
Nah, they don't need to go that direction. They would go the other way around. It's closer to
Berlin.
Germany, right?
Yeah.
Because then they don't have to work their way past the Alps first, which would or down the Mediterranean. Like, they could literally just go through, like, north through
Who are we
Scandinavia.
talking about?
Well, right now, I mean, the only possible people are Russia, but I mean,
okay.
after they get the USSR, who knows what their goals are? You take over all of Europe for all I know.
Yeah, stop the Settlers from being released.
Yeah, that was their real goal all along, was to stop that game from coming back.
Yeah,
slowly and methodically.
Dillard says, what would you be more interested in playing? A Red Dead Redemption style Young Guns video game or an open world Skyrim style Oregon Trail?
Let me think about that.
I might like to play Skyrim Oregon Trail.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want it to be quite like Skyrim, but, like, I get the general idea there.
Shooting buffalo.
Honestly, if you're going to do the Oregon Trail, the controls should be more like Red Dead Redemption anyway. So I think, like, that would be the frame you'd use for either of those two games.
Yeah.
But if I had to take, like, that open world sort of thing and imprint it on either, I think Oregon Trail would probably be more fun.
Yeah. Avoiding dysentery.
Yeah.
Forging Rivers.
Especially if it was like obviously you wouldn't map out the whole U.S. because you only want the trail, but if it was like somehow the actual like proportion, an in-game mile was equal to a real mile Oregon Trail, it would be a long-ass game, but it would be like a fun game. Oh yeah, how many? There'd have to be like well over 100 gigs of memory, even compressed, if you were gonna do that. Like, but it'd be fun. I'd do it.
Well, how big are the biggest open world games now? They can't be that big.
No, they're not. I know file size are Breath of the Wild is pretty small, but as far as like the proportion of the map, it's one of the biggest maps. Well, one of the biggest fixed maps. Obviously, the biggest maps are procedurally generated maps like Minecraft, or actually, still the biggest map ever made is Elder Scrolls 2, which is a procedurally generated map, Daggerfall.
But like, I can't. Breath of the Wild 2 can't be more than a mile across.
Breath of the Wild 1 is roughly the size of Kyoto. It's like the size of a city.
Breath of the Wild 1.
Yeah, it's like the size of a city. It actually kind of maps to Kyoto. It was kind of based off of that area. You can find like landmarks that map up almost perfectly with it. It's not that big of a game. And then like following Skyrim it is smaller. Actually, it's much smaller because I think Breath of the Wild is like the size of all of Tamriel put together. And then like one of the bigger games is also just the size of a large city is Grand Theft Auto 6, and you can explore that whole thing.
Yeah. I'd have to look it up, but I can't imagine.
Yeah.
These games are actually very big.
But it depends, because some of the largest maps out of any games are open world car games, like racing games. You have to look at the Forza Horizon series, right? Like, the most recent one that came out is basically the size of Mexico. It's not all of Mexico, but it's a really big chunk of Mexico.
Well, actually, I stand corrected. Breath of the Wild's overworld map is estimated at 139 square miles.
Yeah, it's roughly the size of Kyoto, the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is big enough to fit Skyrim 10 times over.
Yeah, like, that's why I said it's much smaller, because Tamriel basically fits into Breath of the Wild, and that's the entire continent that Skyrim takes place on. Skyrim's a single like country in that continent.
So it's a little over 11 and a half miles on a side.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. It doesn't seem that big.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was the biggest fixed world map for an RPG or anything like that. Yeah, Forza Horizon 5 is huge. It's basically just Mexico. The car game, these like Forza Horizon games have like some of the biggest maps out of any game. And for some reason they weren't, well, I guess because the previous ones were in smaller countries, but even then being like roughly the size of a country still should make them much bigger than Breath of the Wild. I don't know why they weren't on the list of like largest maps, because I think one of them was like I think there's one that takes place in the UK and one that takes place in like Italy or something like that. Like they're all like big ass maps.
Yeah. Oh, you know why I bet some of these sites aren't getting a lot of new information? Is because Kotaku and several other sites are having a strike.
Oh, I did not hear about that.
You didn't? I don't think anybody did. Because, like, who cares?
Yeah. If Kotaku's building burnt down, as long as nobody died in the fire, I really wouldn't care.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is kind of big news, I guess. Sort of. Shoot, stupid ad blockers blocking me. Opening the site. Kotaku goes dark as part of GMG's strike alongside Gizmodo, Jezebel, and others.
All sites that I don't give a shit about.
Yeah. Of course, it's not dark. The site's up. It's just they're not updating it. So, yes, Gizmodo Media Group Union, which includes Kotaku, Gizmodo, Jezebel, Lifehacker, Jalopnik, and The Root.
Jalopnik. Every time I hear that name, it makes me laugh.
What even is that?
I forget what the site covers. Every time I hear it, when people bring it up, it just makes me laugh from the name.
Mm-hmm. What's funny is it brings to mind the time when the entire staff of Deadspin quit and just got replaced, and it was just like, no big deal. Like, why don't these fucking companies just be like, you know what? All of you idiots are replaceable. You're all terrible at your jobs anyway.
Sketchbook says Jalopnik is a racing and car magazine.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't read magazines. I've got a car guy that I talk to every time I need information on racing and stuff.
Well, apparently the union wants more inclusive health care for trans and gender expansive employees. I guess they want their health insurance to pay for sex changes or something.
I have no clue. All I could say is good fucking luck.
Salary increases, of course, more family leave, allowing from work from home flexibility. Surely they already have that in the last couple of years. I guess management has been having people move to New York City. And not enough consistent work on diversity efforts. And I'd fire every one of these assholes.
I would too.
They're all replaceable. Obviously, they're not even working now anyway, so what difference does it make? Fire them.
They probably can't fire them. The problem is they probably are operating in California, which, being the backward state that it is, there's a lot of protections for unionization there.
Actually, New York, I think.
Oh, the New York? Okay, no, the New York is like usually fine with union busting. They could probably fire the whole lot of them.
Really?
Yeah, New York had very tense history with unions, and they had protections at one point in time, but then they found out that a lot of the unions were tied up with the mob, so they were given more leeway for union busting.
Yeah, they're striking near Radio City. It's definitely New York.
Yeah. As soon as they found out that a lot of the mobs were using the unions for like laundering money and stuff, they're like, okay, union busting, let's go.
Yeah. Look at these idiots. I only see one guy wearing a mask. Oh, no, two people.
Yeah.
Looking at the picketers.
Yeah, fire a lot of them. Fuck their union.
First response on Twitter: what the hell does not enough consistent work on diversity efforts mean? I don't know.
This isn't. We'll put a lot of work in diversifying the staff when we hire a whole fresh lot of them. Because apparently the people who already work there feel like they're not diverse enough. It's like, well, if you replace everybody, then you can make sure they're diverse enough in the first place.
Yeah,
They clearly don't want their jobs.
I mean, what's funny is all the people picketing. Let me just look.
Are they all white?
I am thinking.
They usually are. Let's see.
I mean, this guy might be Hispanic. Don't know. He looks pretty white.
That dude looked Italian, not Hispanic. I don't know.
I mean, that guy's white. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, white women.
You guys seem like you're your own problem with the company, not the company itself.
Yeah, if you want diversity, you guys need to quit and make room.
Yeah, give somebody else your job.
For more diverse staff. There's Radio City right there. So they're obviously in New York. So yeah, there's nothing. There's no new content on Kotaku. What are we gonna do?
Celebrate?
Oh no!
Throw a party? I don't know. I got one
Yeah,
piece of
Cameron,
cake
see,
left.
you didn't even hear about this.
No, man, I didn't even
Nobody-
care. Like, who cares? It's fucking Kotaku.
I mean, I only heard about it I heard about it from Sophia Narwitz like 3 days after the strike started.
Yeah.
She was like, "Did anybody know that there was a strike?" I was like,
Fucking, you
No.
listed Jezebel in there too. I think if that site went down, nothing better could have happened to the internet.
"Yeah." When you strike, well, it's funny because apparently they are negotiating. There was a tweet from 5 hours ago saying they're still negotiating. But normally, when you form a union or if you're going to strike, you have to have some sort of leverage.
Yeah.
Like you have to be irreplaceable, like factory workers, right? They're very specialized. They have very unique knowledge. That
Because they had to be
if a bunch
trained.
of people,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, if a bunch of people left, it would be a real big hardship for the company.
Yeah,
'Cause
you could train like maybe up to 10 people at a time while other people are
Yeah.
working if you're stretching your
But-
load thin. But if everybody quits,
Yeah.
you can't train like 100 people all at once to do the job and still have everything moving.
Yeah.
That takes forever.
Even then, sometimes there's scabs or whatever
Yeah.
that will work. But yeah, a lot of times these are like apprenticeship jobs where, yeah, you might be. People think of factory workers as being
Oh, yeah,
replaceable,
yeah.
but a lot of times there's very specialist type work.
When I'm talking about training people, I'm not talking about like just somebody who works on the assembly line that you could train in 2 weeks. I'm talking about like somebody
Yeah.
who might need a 3-year training program, which they can
Yeah.
work while they're training. That's why you can only do up to like 10 people because you've got
Yeah.
like those positions. You're under that guy. You're under that guy. You're under that guy. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I mean, if they strike, you're screwed. There's really nothing. You have to negotiate because they're going to be.
Yeah.
You can't just fire them, or you'll be, your factory will be down for a year or more. With these people, they could rehire people. They could be back up and running in a month.
Yeah.
They could have a full staff.
They
Easy.
could not even a month, in a week, because these people, one, aren't very good writers in the first place. I've read their material. Two, they have no distinct voice. I can't, unless I look at the byline to see who did it, I have no idea who writes any of the articles when I actually have to look at something on Kotaku. They all sound exactly the same,
Yeah.
which means they're all replaceable because they have no unique voice and they bring nothing to their field.
I mean, look at Deadspin. Entire staff quit. They were like, okay,
Done.
well, new staff. Good. Focus on sports, you idiots. And they quit because they weren't allowed to, because they were forced to focus on sports and not politics.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, you look at older, because they're magazines. They're digital magazines, but they're structured like magazines. They're short little blurbs, so I guess it's more like a newspaper than a magazine article. But sometimes they will write something as long as a magazine article. I'll go back. Like, I remember Nintendo Power. I used to know like the names of the people writing the articles, and half the time, because I was reading it so much, I could tell you who wrote an article because of the way the articles sound. I didn't have to look up who the name is. They all had unique voices, and they all like knew their shit, so they only ever talked about like, okay, well, I do the RPG stuff and things like that. You don't have that
I remember that.
in any of these things. You don't have like a specialist who writes a certain type of article, and that's actually been my problem, as I've talked about with how bad games journalism is, period, even when it isn't like a political sewage. You'll have like 8 different people writing articles about the same game because they all need to fill their quota, and they're all like 8 different small things about a game that one person could have just put in one long magazine article and have it more coherent because it's the same person writing it with a solid voice all the way through. But no, there's like 8 little boop, 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 all by a different person.
Yeah. There's no pause button in Elden Ring. Oh, the fonts are too small. Blah, 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 like a whole article about that.
Yeah, or a whole article talking about like, oh, look at this new roll mechanic this game has that the previous game in the series did.
Yeah. That's why whenever a game like that comes out, when we're sitting here trying to look for news, every single fucking story on GameSpot or whatever, Elden Ring, Elden Ring, Elden Ring, Elden Ring. Like, holy shit. They've got 20 different articles on the same day, all Elden Ring. It's like, Jesus Christ. What?
Yeah, half the time it seems like I'm just pulling articles up so I can have the headline sitting there to remind me what I wanted to talk about aside from whatever the article was. I prefer our Nintendo Direct days and stuff like that where we're just literally watching the trailer and it's firsthand reporting back to it instead of like these crappy short segment articles that don't tell you anything about the thing that you're reading.
Yeah. You know, and I look at some actual games journalists like Game Over Jesse is a really good channel. You know, he does mostly a lot of Zelda news, but also, you know, other Nintendo, almost always Nintendo related news and stuff. And he has exclusives and he has, you know, insiders that, you know, feed him rumors and stuff like that. And he was asking like, how do I get a job, you know, writing articles and stuff? Because he's like, I've got inside industry contacts and stuff, but apparently can't get a job. At least, you know, working at these companies. I'm like, God, they should hire him.
Or he should just start his own digital magazine. Because, like, a startup is not that hard, right? Because you don't have to spend too much money. You can freaking buy a WordPress at a yearly rate to start out with your articles and stuff, and you can customize it to actually look at it. It's like somebody who's got contacts and stuff, they should just be like, fuck these guys who aren't doing things right. I'm just going to outcompete them in the same field by actually doing it well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Quartering made a site for a while. I think it's called Exclusively Games.
Yeah.
And his only expense really was paying writers.
Yep.
I think he was paying people to write articles.
Yeah, probably just writers and hosting fees, which are the smaller end of that, because hosting fees are like nothing now. It's not like you're paying $500 a year to host a site. You could, minimum level, you get it down for like $40 depending on where you go. Or if you have like your own server, you could just pay like what? You get down to like $10 a month just for a domain. Well,
yeah, but you got to pay for your own server.
Yeah, that's probably if you have your own server already, that's why you could get it down to like $10 a month because you still need a domain.
But you can get a WordPress site, and I think you can pay to get rid of the WordPress.org.
Oh yeah, no, my website's a WordPress site. I paid, I want to say $60 between the domain and enough of the hosting fees because I don't want ads on my site. I don't want WordPress running their ads, so I went to the personal plan, which is enough that gets rid of that. And between that and the domain, I think I paid like $60 or something like that. Yeah. It's really not all that much for the year, not like a monthly fee or anything like that.
Yeah. Anyway, now would be a good time to start a new gaming website because
I actually might go back to writing articles. I did that a couple times. I actually have another WordPress that it still has the .wordpress, and I think the last time I wrote anything on there is when I did a review for Detective Pikachu. And actually, I really like reviewing things, like sitting there and getting your whole thoughts out on exactly why you think something should be rated what it was. And that was like, what, 2018? So that was like 4 years ago was the last time I used it. It was really fun. It was Holy Crap, It's the Metal was the website handle. But that's what we just need to be doing that. Like, games journalists suck so much that there just needs to be more independent journalism going on.
Yeah.
And you think there should have been a huge splurge of it. I mean, there was an attempt at one point, shortly after Gamergate, because of all that, but most people didn't stick to it because they're like, making a video that I put no effort into the editing, just talking to the camera is so much easier than sitting down and writing a cohesive article and making contacts with people to try to get insider information and shit like that. It's laziness, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, have you heard about the? Let me get more information on that. Never mind. I was going to bring up a story, but I couldn't remember the name of the company. Anyway.
Do you want to wait until you have more information, or?
And then no, I just need to look up the name of the company because I can't remember it offhand. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, speaking of distressing news, musicians are now very nervous, very, very nervous. All the indie musicians, because what seems to be like the lifeblood for many independent artists, Bandcamp, was acquired by Epic Games. And that's I don't know, that's a scary thought, because Epic is a big mega corporation. And they have an idea of turning Bandcamp into a streaming service. And as we all know, streaming services don't make shit for the people whose music are actually on it. And I don't know, like, they haven't come out and really said anything yet. So you don't know if, like, you go in there and you make a setting like this music can't be streamed. Because I'm sure you will get some type of cut if people listen to your music on stream with ads and shit like that, or if they have, like, the adless membership. But you're not going to get much. It's good promotion. But as long as they still allow our artists to sell their music directly, and maybe even keep their CD printing policy up, the whole program, it should be fine. I don't know, it's just all these streaming services seem to fuck over artists every single time they make one. Artists don't make shit on, like, Spotify or what are some of the other ones? Because I remember when streaming started getting big, even some of the large artists like Kanye and stuff, they knew they weren't making any money off it, so they went and made their own super streaming service that cost way too much a month for anybody to reasonably actually listen to it. But they made sure that they got all their money that way.
Mm-hmm. But is Bandcamp, is that like Guitar Hero?
No. Not at all. You're thinking of Rock Band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, Bandcamp's a website. If you're not familiar with it, and I don't know, maybe a lot of people listening aren't either. Bandcamp is a website that's been around for fucking ever. Actually, let me look up how long Bandcamp has been around. It's been around for a long time. I actually have a Bandcamp page. I've never uploaded anything. I was planning to, but the band
I think I
broke up.
I think I got that confused with Basecamp, which is a website that I've used for project management.
Mm-hmm. But they've been around since 2008, so they've been around for a long time now. And basically, if you are a musician, an artist, or a band or whatever, you could create a page, like your profile for it, upload your music, and you could choose what you want to charge. Anywhere between free to a fixed price, or even what is effectively like a donation-ware price, where it's name your own, which ultimately could be free, but, you could always throw a tip at the artist. And I remember, like, I think maybe it was like 2013 or something. At one point, they did a program where you could do print-on-demand CDs through them as well. They might still be running that. And it has been a very, very good site for independent musicians to be supported directly by their followers and get their music out to people without being fucked over by things like iTunes and stuff like that. And even if you want to get on iTunes, Bandcamp often helped because your CD would already be an established catalog album. So it'd be easier to, like, get, like, the ISBN and everything needed to get onto iTunes. Bandcamp, it was a wonderful site, and they were even waiving their fees during the pandemic. Because, like I said, even though I haven't uploaded anything, I do have a profile there, and I kept getting emails of them saying, hey, we're waiving our site fees, so artists will make everything during this time. And they were, like, one of the first ones to send those out, so it's not like they were getting pressure from other people because other companies were already doing that.
Yeah.
And now Epic owns them.
Interesting.
And I don't know what that means.
I guess we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Well, again, like it seems
Sorry.
like they want to head into the streaming service, and I don't know. It could be good for musicians if you like genre-wise, you end up in somebody's playlist who was never looking for you before, right? Because it turns into like a radio now. But is that cost good enough for you for not really going to be making any money off of streamed music? It could be. Like, it could be great advertisement. I don't know. People are going to have to weigh that down. If they give you an option to check whether you want music to be streamable or not, then I think that's fair. They could do this in the most fair way possible. But it's Epic, so I don't know if they're going to do it in the most fair way possible. I don't really have a lot of faith in them doing it right.
Yeah. I had a friend in Nashville who was really involved in the music business, and he was trying to get something like this off the, something like Bandcamp off the ground to try and help artists and stuff like that. He never had any money though. never could get any venture capital for all the projects that he wanted to do, but which is kind of funny because there's a lot of people throwing a lot of money around in Nashville.
Yeah.
In music.
Well, I mean, it was actually. I think it still technically is. It's like the music capital of the world, ain't it? I know it was at least at one point in time.
Oh yeah, like Sony Records is based in Nashville, stuff like that. There's several,
I don't think it's the live music capital anymore, but in general, I believe it's still the music capital.
No, Austin is live music.
I think Austin overtook it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, as far as I know, or as long as I remember, Austin's always been the live music capital. But no, Nashville is where all the recording studios are. Although, well, no, that's no. I'm thinking of voiceovers, like all the anime dubs and stuff like that are done in Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, music recording. It doesn't matter what genre you are. It's like I said, Sony Music is based in Nashville.
Yeah, it's always been that way when it comes to Nashville. I think because a lot of people have that whole old Opry feel about just that, like Tennessee in general, that they think it's only country. But no, that's like everybody's been there at every. You go down like Music Row. There's a street or a kind of an area called Music Row that if you it's like what's the equivalent of it's the Hollywood of music. It's like the genre of rock and roll, which is built out of several other genres before it, but the actual genre of rock and roll comes out of Nashville. Yeah, like it was a bunch of other things before that, and then it gets made in those studios where with a bunch of artists and stuff. I mean, Elvis did a lot of his recording in Nashville and stuff. It's like there's a whole back history of just every genre being done there.
Yeah, and if you're a writer, I mean, heavily in country, but not only. But if you're actually a writer and you want to get recognized, you have to go to the Bluebird Cafe, and play there.
But yeah, and a lot of people don't realize too, because most writers can play instruments, like they're musicians themselves. You just almost never hear them play. But most people write more than they ever get perform because they end up writing for other people. Like
what's interesting about the Bluebird, and it's a bar basically, and it's outside of Nashville. It's west. It's in the suburbs, but the Bluebird is famous for, like, if you go there, basically you can only play there if you're a writer. You can only play your own music, so you won't have stars typically play there. Yeah. But what's funny is that someone will get up on stage and start singing a song, and you're like, I know this song. This is this song is by this band or that band. It's like, no, that's the guy that wrote the song. Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, I had no idea that they didn't write their own songs. Yeah, no, this person actually wrote. Or even
often, like sometimes even bands that do write their own songs, they'll still pick up something from a writer here and there. Yeah. Because they'll be like, hey, I got this really good song, and I think it would match your sound, and they'll listen to it. It's like, yeah, I think we'll pick that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, bands are welcome to play there, but they can only play songs that they wrote.
Yeah. It's kind of like going to like the the Laugh Shack or the comedy club or anything like that. Like if a comedian goes there, they have to perform their own material, and you can't like steal other people's jokes and stuff like that. That's the whole thing. You got to go play your own stuff. I wish there was more places like that, but obviously if there's going to be a place like that for music, it's going to be in Nashville.
Yeah. But anyway, I figured out what the other story was that I sort of had a false start. I was like, oh, did you hear about the... Actually, I don't know what I'm talking about. We didn't talk about artesian builds last time, did we? Here, I don't think we did.
That sounds familiar, but I don't remember actually talking about that on the podcast, so probably not.
Yeah, although this happened.
Hold up. Thank you, Dillard, for tipping $5.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
This show brought to you by John Dillard.
Yeah.
Go check out the Buckler, still live on Indiegogo. Yeah, so this actually happened earlier in the week. Kind of blew up on Monday or Tuesday. This company called Artesian Builds, which is kind of like a Meta PC's competitor. They put together their own, on-demand PC.
I know what you're talking about. The reason that sounds familiar is because I've heard a lot of the drama around this. Yeah, you continue.
Yeah. Well, one of the things they do is they have giveaways. And according to their rules, giveaways are very highly regulated, right? The FTC and their state laws that govern these things. Well, according to their rules, really all you had to do was be an ambassador. Now, I don't know if you had to apply to be an ambassador, but it was pretty simple application process if there was any at all. But then you also have to put their link, like basically like if you're on Twitch, you can put like links underneath where the video shows. If you scroll down like on our Twitch, it has like a link to Streamlabs where you can donate, by the way, but and to our Discord. So yeah, you had to put a link to their site, or I guess if you're on YouTube, put a link in the description and stuff like that. And then they somehow randomly, I guess they got the names of all their ambassadors, and then they randomly pick one. I don't know how often, once a week or something. Well, I don't know how this has gone before, but this past week, the person who won, they looked at their channel, they saw that they were a fairly small channel, and they looked at I guess you have to get, what do you call it, an affiliate link? Yeah. So they looked at their affiliate ID, and they saw that nobody had clicked on it or bought a PC from it. And so they denied it. They're like, okay, well, you won, but no, we're not going to give you a free PC. And they started like belittling them, and they're like, no, you're not a very good ambassador. You don't have a lot of views. Basically without saying it, they basically said you suck. So, and then I think they went through several. So they're like, okay, we're going to pick another one. And they looked at it and they did the same thing until they found one that was big enough. And this was all on live, like on their Artesian Builds live stream, where they got this guy. Yeah, this is the CEO talking. So not only did I think they ran afoul probably of FTC rules or laws, because I don't think it was required that you be a certain size.
Yeah. But, that needs to be in the description from the beginning if there's some type of rule for that.
Yeah. Yeah, which I've not seen. So I assume they would have shown like, here it is. Here it's clearly states you have to be this size, but I don't think it says that. So, somebody has blown up. So this poor person, Kia Pia, was sort of the first person they were ridiculing. And it blew up. And just people, the quartering covered it. It's been all over Twitter and everything. They issued an apology, and I think they offered to give this streamer PC, and she turned him down. She's like, fuck you. She's like, I don't want anything from you people. But more recently, a couple days ago, apparently Asmongold, arguably the largest male streamer on Twitch, apparently was, I guess, had bought or was a proponent or whatever. It somehow was related to Artesian Builds, and he has drop them entirely as a sponsor. I guess they were sponsoring. So that was sort of the new news, is that Asmongold was like, nope. And he didn't say much about it. He was like, I don't want to be part of the drama. I don't want to talk about it. He's like, I'm dropping Artesian builds. That's the end of it. I'm not going to talk about it. He's like, so that was kind of a big deal. So I don't know. I think they're sunk. Even Intel had to apologize. Like, because they're an Intel, I don't know, brand ambassador or whatever. Intel had to come out with a statement saying, we do not condone this, blah, blah, blah.
Well, my problem is, it does seem like there's a lot of bandwagoning on it too. Like, I have absolutely no problem with anybody who is sponsored or affiliated with them saying things and dropping it. But then you also get like a whole bunch of people that are just trying to jump on the bandwagon of hating them. And I've heard people talking about how like, their builds are awful and shit like that. But then like the people talking about them are not talking about computers in a way that you'd expect anybody who knows anything about computers to talk about computers, right? They're literally just people hopping on, and they could have awful builds. I don't know. I've never seen one. I've never inspected one. I've never had like Spexy running while one is at full performance to see what it actually is like. But it's just like people are jumping on and talking shit. And like, you might want to be skeptical. You can not want to shop at them for having horrible business practices and PR and all that, but maybe don't just start shit talking something you literally know nothing about.
Yeah, I did see somebody who appeared to be some kind of expert was saying that they underclocked a graphics card by 10% to eliminate an overheating issue.
I saw that, but he didn't say underclocked. He said he was throttling the graphics card. I'm like, well, what do you mean by throttling? That could mean so many different things in this case. Do you mean underclocked? Which I guess that is a way to throttle a graphics card, so you keep it lower and then let it go to its actual set clocking when you need the performance. But
and is that their fault or the card manufacturer?
Yeah,
so yeah, I don't know. From what I can tell, I'm sure their PCs are fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to have a decent build these days because everything about a PC is plug and play. Like the type of thermal paste you use doesn't even fucking matter anymore because there's really no such thing as bad thermal paste. Like all the little minute things that you used to have to worry about with making computers are really not a problem anymore.
Yeah, you can really build your own. I mean, they're doing a service that pretty much anyone can just do.
Oh yeah.
If you can find the components, which nowadays may be a little bit difficult, but normally you can do everything that they do yourself.
Yeah, you can
very easily.
You could go to a place like Newegg, which I mean they've been in a controversy recently, but historically they've been a pretty good site for getting things. And they'll like tell you things that are compatible with each other. You can check like this is the thing that's already in my cart. I want stuff that's only compatible with this. And they're not the only site though. There's a lot of people that have, without controversy, taken the Newegg formula of how the site works and have done the exact same thing. You could find other pre-made build sites as well. It's like making a computer is the easiest thing in the world these days. Everything's color coded too. As long as you like ground yourself out. You just pop, 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 and it's hard not to make a computer. It's like playing with Lego at this point.
Yeah. I recently upgraded my power supply in my computer. All the plugs, there's only one place they can go. They're all unique.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty much simple. Heard something about thermal paste. We're talking about artesian builds.
Oh yeah, I was saying like. Computers are so easy to make these days. They don't have a lot of the minute problems that you used to have back in the day. Like, especially, oh my God, I love how fucking processors are now. Processors are made in such an efficient way that as long as it's the right motherboard, which is built for the processor type, you could just click it in, strap it down, and put like almost any thermal paste, because there's like almost no such thing as bad thermal paste anymore, and then just put your cooling fan right over it. You remember back when there was like the fucking long ass pins that you had to delicately put into your motherboard, and if you
they don't have those anymore?
No, they don't have the big bricks anymore. It's like an actual little chip that you just click in.
Huh.
Yeah, no, processors are great
I
now. You don't have to worry about bending a fucking pin or anything and be like, oh, well, there goes the whole fucking processor because I bent one of these 90 pins.
Yeah, I haven't done it in so long.
Yeah.
The last time I put in a new processor, it had all the pins. Although I've never bent a pin.
No, it's
I've
easy,
never-
but like,
but,
I know people who have fucked their whole thing
yeah.
because of that. And they're like, hey, can you come over and fix it? And I'm like, you bent like 20 pins trying to put this in. You're going to have to get a new processor. There's
How
nothing.
do you do that?
I don't know. People are fucking stupid. But like,
When I was in college, they had the, what do they call it? ZIF, zero insertion force.
yeah.
Where you just lightly put it in, and if it plops in, then you got it right, and then you close
Well,
the gate
you have
thing.
to understand, most people don't understand what delicacy actually is, and they manhandle anything they touch.
Yeah, I don't think I ever dealt with a processor before the zero insertion force thing became standard. But
Yeah.
So how do they work now? There's no pins?
No,
That's
no, no,
crazy.
no. It's literally, it's almost like how you would have like a flash memory or whatever. So the pins
Yeah.
are there, but they're like blocky and they're very super short, right? It's almost like triangles, like little pyramids, right? And you put the chip
like-
down,
okay.
and it clicks into the motherboard, and you put the like there's a case that comes up, and you just put it right back down.
Yeah.
Zero force. It clicks when you put the case down. No tension necessary, and that's it. It's the easiest thing in the world. A fucking child could do it. Yeah, I mean, you can still technically bend pins, but
Yeah.
it's so fucking impossible.
Yeah, that's why. So, things like, this thing I got from Dell because it was cheap and then it was upgradable. So I've upgraded a few things. But I don't think I'd ever buy from a Meta PCs or anything like that because really they're just paying, you're paying a premium for it to be a flashy box and for them to put it together for you. And it's like, if I really wanted an uber mega awesome gaming PC, I just build it myself. I just get all the pieces and parts. It wouldn't have like an LED front panel.
Here,
that says
I'm gonna
PC,
pull up what a
but-
modern processor looks like so you can see what I mean by this. Let me open this up in another tab.
Oh, also, I don't know if you call her a friend of the channel, but a friend of mine, Lost Lenore.
Oh yeah, I know.
Tweeted
more.
Yeah, she's an artist. Tweeted earlier in the week that she had dealt with artesian builds, and I can't remember exactly what she said.
But this is what they look like now. There's like no chance of bending a pin the way the bottom of a processor looks, and that's how thin they are.
Oh, so they're like flat. Yeah.
Yeah. You literally just set it in, and a lid goes down on it.
Cool.
Yeah. No stress at all that anything's ever going to get broken on this thing.
Yeah.
Because worse than putting it in is if you need to take it out for any reason. That's when you're really worried about a pin possibly getting bent. But nope, no problem these days.
I recently watched an interesting video that explained why circuit boards tend to be green.
Oh, wow.
You know why circuit boards tend to be green?
I don't know.
Multiple reasons, apparently. Not the least of which is that the high contrast between green and those gold connectors or other colored components, because the human eye sees different shades of green better than any other color. And so that's one of the reasons, is to make it easier for people, specifically inspectors and people doing soldering, to be able to see what they're doing a little bit better. But also the chemicals that make it green apparently are the best chemicals for etching or something like that.
Oh,
Anyway.
well, so on average, that might be the case. I actually have, in normal light, excellent color, like depiction. I usually get anywhere between like 98 to 100 on those like long color matching things. But when I was younger, I had trouble distinguishing blues and greens in dim light from each other. Don't really have a problem with that now. Is probably just because my eyes were still developing. But for the last few PCs that I had red circuit boards, and I think it's because I was getting like Asus boards, and Asus kind of red and black is sort of their color. But I didn't have any problem seeing the difference between the red and the gold and stuff like that. And
yeah, nowadays there's more variation, and in fact, nowadays a lot of companies they'll actually color code circuit boards depending on what they do. So a motherboard will be one color, and a circuit board for a graphics card will be another, or a network card or whatever.
But I remember, like, I've opened up my NES, and that's old school, that deep kind of forest green that you're used to seeing, and
and apparently Apple uses mostly black circuit boards, which is interesting.
Well, that's very high contrast between black and gold. So
yeah. But at this point, there's really no need. I mean, there's a million different colors, and it's easy to make any color. But so at this point, it's really just kind of more like tradition kind of thing.
Because I think for the longest time, there was something, I wouldn't necessarily call it red. Maybe mauve might be the color, but if it wasn't green, this kind of brownish, reddish color was the only other. Yeah, it wasn't quite, it was like a highly saturated, so it was almost reddish brown, but it's like this kind of mauve color was the other option if it wasn't green, Yeah,
I've seen that. So nowadays it's not that big of a deal. They may be any color, but it's more common that they're green because traditionally, and I guess it also had to do with the chemicals they use to, like the resin that's coated with. For a while, they only had one option in terms of how to make the resin, happened to be green. So. But anyway, this is interesting.
I don't know if I cut you off because I was bringing something up, but were you done with what you were saying about Lost Lenore? I don't know if you finished your train of thought on that.
Oh, well, I couldn't find her tweet offhand, so I don't know exactly what her deal was, but it was something to do with, I think maybe they were going to sponsor her channel for a while, and they ended up just ghosting her. Like, they said they were going to do it, and then they just never followed up. Basically, she had a bad experience. Just them being unprofessional and, not following through. So... But it was like one of these things where it's like, it's not that big of a deal, so you're not going to mention it until it comes a time when it's like Artesian Builds, they're a piece of shit company.
Yeah.
I might as well mention my experience,
Well, see, I have a very weird mentality on this, and this is probably why we'll never be sponsored by almost anybody. Because my mentality is I would accept a sponsorship from literally anybody, with the forewarning that they have to know that won't stop me from talking shit on them. And I would continue accepting their money while still talking shit on them if they were in a controversy. That's just a forewarning. You may never want to sponsor the Vomitorium because of that. But hey, you know what? If you're reputable, if you don't do anything scummy, then you're in the clear.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't talk shit about you
unless you deserve it.
Turn.
Yeah. That's just my policy, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, so Sketchbook, I think what he's saying in the chat is that, generally speaking, I mean, for most people, you don't want to bother building your own computer because they're so cheap now. You might as well just buy one off the shelf. But I'm just saying, if I ever wanted, like, rather than paying $8,000 for a Meta PC, that's just the one that comes to mind. Because they're basically like Artesian Builds, except apparently not jerky. Rather than pay that premium, I would rather just put it together myself.
So I agree with him. Like, you are saving money putting together yourself. There are pros and cons to it, especially if you don't know that much about computers. You might just get a bunch of parts that aren't that good or don't synergize together very well, even if they do work together. Like graphics cards. Right? Almost any graphics card can work in almost any motherboard now because they have like a standardized pin set. So you could just pulled in. But there are different graphics cards that work better with different processors and motherboards, and your motherboard is going to be based on whatever processor you want, because different motherboards are built for different processors. And if you end up getting an Intel processor that doesn't work so well with your, they used to be ATI, but now your AMD graphics card, your GPU, well, that card's still going to go into the motherboard, but you could have had something better if, I don't know, maybe an NVIDIA, because they're owned by Intel and they are built to work together.
Well, here's the thing. I understand all that.
You do. Yeah, I'm just talking about like the average person. Of course, you understand that.
Yeah.
We both understand. That's why we're talking about this shit on the show, but just the people out there. So what I usually recommend is for people who are trying to get into building PCs, instead of having to do all their homework before they get their very first one, is to get a cheaper pre-built one with a case size that they like. And then when they need to upgrade that thing, they can go from there, and they can study like, okay, well, this is the motherboard I have. Do I want to upgrade that yet? Or do I want to leave it because it'll house a better processor in the same family line? It'll house almost any graphics card I want, and I can just find one that matches. Like, once you have something to work with, it's a lot easier to learn what you're doing. And that's why that's usually my recommendation for people starting out.
Yeah, my first experience sort of modding a PC was actually when I was a kid, I think in high school. I had an out-of-the-box computer, and I took it to a computer store. I wanted to get the memory upgraded. So I took it to a computer store that had the memory upgrade back when they sold those in stores, because there was no internet. And I actually ended up having to pay the guy to install it for me because I had no idea. I was like, I don't know how to do this. So I paid him
it
to
was
install
just a RAM expansion, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's the easiest thing in the world to do. But yeah, if you don't know anything at all, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid. I was probably 16 or something like that. I'd never done this before. And he let me watch him open, he basically said, I'll do it right now for you. I don't know if he charged me $30 or something, but, I'll show you how to do it. And so he opened up the case. He said, here's where they go. Put them in, close the case up. Everything worked. I was like, oh, I could have done that myself.
Yep.
But thanks for the tutorial. Here's the $30. And then from then on, it was like, well, I'm just going to, this is simple. You just have to, learn more and more details, and you can do it yourself.
Yeah, I think my first RAM replacement, I think I did that when I was about maybe 10 or 11. And it was because my dad would bring home computers from the place where he worked when they were like getting rid of them, because there was like stuff in the back storage closet and stuff like that. And if they were to upgrade the machines, he'd sneak one out. We'd get a new computer. And one of them he brought home, it had less RAM than our last one, even though it was a better computer overall.
Yeah.
I think our former model just had expanded RAM. It had 4 slots of DDR2, and it turned out that our one before that was also DDR2. So I just took out what I could from that one, since we weren't using it anymore, and fitted into the 2 remaining slots. And boom, it was running a hell of a lot better than any computer we had at that point. I'm like, I should keep a note of this. Putting these memory sticks in there actually makes the computer juggle things better. That was kind of like my starter learning, like, how computers actually operate. It's like, this makes this difference. Jot that down. Yeah.
I was trying to look up, I'm like, when I was 10, were there PCs? I don't know. Yeah, apparently the 386 was around when I was 10.
I'm trying to figure out like what kind of RAM would that have been? With DDR1, where it was even on modern versions of RAM, or
it was not DDR.
It was before DDR. Okay, that's what I was wondering, like, because that was a while ago.
No, it was ST. It was ST-RAM, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, this was before double data rate on a 386. In fact, I think this particular 386 had a very proprietary. I think it was a RAM expansion module, I believe, that was not like they are today. It was proprietary. It had these 2 connectors. It was like a bridge. It was like a rectangular bridge like this. And so it plugged in 2 locations.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen those
on the
before.
motherboard. Yeah. So it didn't necessarily teach me how to correctly install a standard memory card, but it did teach me how theoretically simple it is. So
yeah. I mean, still, compared to computers at the time, would have been the easiest part of upgrading a computer, but definitely a lot more complicated than it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even remember. It must have been in the manual. I bet that's what it was. Like in the manual of the computer that I got, it said you can get this optional memory upgrade. I probably needed in order to play Ultima 7 and DOS 3.3 or something.
It's like the manual, the 64, if you get the later models. We do sell an optional memory upgrade.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's what that little compartment in the front's for.
Exactly. Computers back then. There's no standards. It's the wild, wild west.
I'll be honest, and I think this is why I don't care that when I get like these gaming laptops, their fans are super loud and stuff. I sometimes actually kind of miss the crunching sounds of the actual hard disk drives of older computers, like a 95 or 98. There's just something like satisfying about hearing a computer start up like that. My computer only starts making sounds if I'm like overworking it because I have like a second monitor plugged in and I'm running like a game and watching something in HD at the same time. If I start it up, it makes no sound until like fucking 20 minutes later or something like that. It's just silent like a car.
Yeah. As long as we're just telling war stories in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I found interesting. So when I had a computer in high school, and I went to college in 1995. And so my first, I got it was a Pentium 100 that I got specifically for college. And it came with Windows 3.1 because that's all that was available, but with a free upgrade because I think Windows 95 came out in September.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until after I went to college that 95 came out and I got a free upgrade. But one thing I found interesting because I had a 386, and when you boot up a 386 to DOS, it's silent. There's no fans. There's no nothing because nothing's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you and then even the Pentium 100 that I had, you boot it up to Windows 3.1 or DOS because it had both. Silent, just complete silence. The boots and it makes the sounds and the clicking and all that stuff. But once it's booted up, it's not doing anything. There's nothing happening in the background. There's just no background processes. When I installed Windows 95. Holy shit, that thing sounded like a jet engine because it was just like, and it blew me away because I'm like, what the hell
95, something's always happening in the background.
Yeah.
It's like the first time that's really happening. Yeah. Yeah,
it actually had multi-threaded, multi-processed kind of stuff, and it was like fans whirring, the hard drives doing that clickety-clack, whatever, the clicking and popping, whatever it does.
Yeah.
All these noises, and I'd leave it on,
right there.
What?
There's like fucking huge ass gnat that came into this room.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, I get distracted.
Yeah. But, and I'm in this tiny little dorm room, and I'm used to just leaving the computer on all the time. And so, but like at night, I'd be like, what the hell is that computer doing? It's probably like defragging at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
It would defrag the hard drive, and I'm like, what the hell is up with Windows 95? So I think I ended up, most of the time turning it off at night because it was so damn loud. I was blown away because when I first got it on Windows 3.1, it was like silence.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not even a like a power issue or anything either. That's just the way it functioned back then because the hard drive is constantly moving. It's not like now it's like maybe you're overworking a fan or something and that's a crunching sound. And if you had more RAM, you wouldn't be overworking and a fan doesn't need to go harder. No, that was just the sound of the hard drive spinning back then. It didn't matter how powerful your computer was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was perfectly normal. It wasn't overheating. Yeah. It was fast. It was a Pentium 100 in 1995. It was a fast computer. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It's just having background processes was a new thing.
Yeah.
That I'd never experienced before.
It's actually kind of like, I don't know, maybe the first generation where RAM expansions were actually required for certain things. Like, sure, I mean, getting more RAM would always make something run a little smoother, but we're getting like full processed video and stuff like that in the 95. I remember that was like the first generation where you could actually have like the Library Britannica on like floppy disks and stuff, and they would have compressed videos inside the encyclopedia and everything like that.
Yeah, usually on CDs, I think.
Well, yeah, we get to the CDs eventually. I remember at first we had it on floppy because that's how like 95 started. Still, floppy was the default, and it wasn't like the old floppy. It was the smaller minis, like the 3-inch ones with the hard backing. But like I think that one was 10 discs for the standard, and then when we moved over to the CD version, I'm like, what is this? Why is it all on one disc? I'm confused.
Yeah,
I don't have to switch things out.
Yeah, I think my college PC had a 4x CD-ROM drive. Oh, so fast. And, I had Myst and probably Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, I was confused when we finally went to our Vista computer. Because a lot of XPs and stuff still had it. So for my whole childhood, there was basically both a CD drive and a floppy drive underneath it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, why do we only have one drive? How do I use these other things?
Yeah, no, there's none. Like, wait a minute.
I don't even have a disk drive on my laptop. There's nothing here. They expect me to use USB and flash ports for everything.
Yeah. But I definitely had a floppy drive on that computer too, because I think I actually had to turn in some of my computer science assignments maybe on floppy disks, I believe. Yeah My C++ stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah Well, we're at the end of the show. Thank you all for watching, and special thank you to John Dillard for donating. And if you like the show, you can do the same. You can donate to us. We'll take any amount of money you want to throw. It helps pay for our hosting fees at streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive. But if you just want to do the bare minimum, the thing that helps out more than please just share us with somebody else who might like the show. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.